Aloha. I was hoping I didn't have to make this video, but a subscriber recently let me know that I was called out on a video that was recently uploaded by Brother Sanchez a number of times. So my name was used in the video a number of times, and I kind of suspected that this video was referencing the video that I had posted. I mean, it was obvious because of the title. For those people who are subscribed to both Bro Sanchez and I channel, they know what I'm talking about. But I honestly didn't even watch the video until last night, because I knew that either, bro, you didn't watch my video completely, and yeah, it didn't resonate, because I don't necessarily like where Flat Earth is going overall, not just from your circle, but just the overall Flat Earth community, which is why I don't really affiliate with any kind of community or movement or anything like that. Excuse me, since I don't affiliate with any kind of community or movement, but I still have the desire to share information, and I do have an understanding that Flat Earth is way more believable in a sense than, obviously, the globe Earth has been debunked. I'm going to share whatever kind of information that resonates with me the way I feel it should be shared. And if I'm going to put information out there where I'm not directly holding people accountable for any of the information, but I see that there's information gaps or information can be shared, then I have to actually be the one who shares that information first and foremost. So when I started to see that the information that I want to share doesn't really fit in the comfort zones of particular movements or communities and stuff like that, then I just take a step back and do what I do. And this is specifically why this response video to, mind you, my video, which, bro, you didn't even watch, it's too dramatic for me. Like, I'm not trying to be a part of any kind of like emotional drama or back and forth between anybody. This is why I do what I do on my own, and I'm not really affiliating with any kind of community or movements or anything like that, because the information stands on its own, and there's so much work to do. There's so much information that needs to be shared. There's so much learning that I need to do individually. So I just share information as I go, as I see fit. If new information comes up for me, then I share that. This is not based upon any particular individual. The reason why I'm making this video right now, specifically responding to Brother Sanchez and using his name in this video, is because I was called out in a previous video based upon another video where it had nothing to do with Brother Sanchez. That video had nothing to do with you. But since you were emotionally triggered by the title, you used my name, basically slandered me a number of times in that video. My little channel and your community and your two bigger channels basically slanders. And so people are going to watch that video. If they come to your channel first, they're going to watch that video, hear you basically dogging me out and comparing me to this other channel, this other guy who you had a live stream with, and then pigeonhole me into this whole like, oh, well, you know, you pro blacks and you all, man, that's exactly why I left that previous live stream, because there's a difference between sharing information because the information needs to be shared and creating a live stream that is entertaining, that attracts people to do whatever. I'm not saying it's to do any one thing. I'm just saying that I'm about the information. I'm about sharing this information. And if it doesn't fit within particular circles, then I have to do it on my own, which is exactly what I'm doing. So if I make a video and the information is controversial and somebody takes it personally, that's not my problem. I'm basically not affiliating with any kind of movement or any kind of community, online or offline, because normally I don't do that anyway. But also it's similar like to why I don't, you know, talk with Patricia or Mark Sargent or that whole little circle of like bigger channels and mainstream flat earth channels. I don't dig on that because, you know, I just don't vibe it. I just don't vibe. There's been 2 years of sharing this information, and to me it's been basically like a broken record of, well, let's just focus on the science and that's it. And like I said, in all these videos, I'm not saying inherently that there's something wrong with only sharing the science, because people are going to share what they're comfortable with, which is why I hold myself accountable for doing what I'm going to do. But when there's entire communities and movements based upon only one particular perspective like that, and it's been going on for a number of years, that's when I personally have a problem that, like I said just a minute ago, it's not somebody else's problem. That's my problem. This is my problem that I have. So in order to address that problem, I use my channel to share the information that I feel is missing from these so-called communities. Because I share that information and it's controversial to these movements and communities, then I keep my distance and I just let other people do what they do. And specifically, one of the reasons why I don't affiliate with communities and movements like this is because people get emotionally triggered. They get in their feelings and make like response videos to something that wasn't even directed towards this individual. That video I made called, oh man, I can't remember the name of the video now. It was, is flat earth and the new age more dangerous than white supremacy, in quotation marks? That video was based upon sharing where I'm coming from in relating the human story to flat earth and the new age. From my perspective and my own experience, I understand that the new age, balled up with the alien agenda and that whole flowery perspective of reality, not to mention the ancient aliens and all that other stuff, excuse me, that perspective is literally a psyop. And it's anchored, even further, it's anchored in the heliocentric perspective, but it's literally a psyop based upon the United Nations having the channeler Cryon speaking at the United Nations at least 7 times, and channeling is big in the New Age community. Channeling is a limited consciousness that I feel is not at all beneficial, really, in the long run. It's not beneficial to our experience because it's counterproductive. And yeah, people who know, people who've watched my videos know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch those other videos. But the New Age itself is a very definite psyop that's locked in with the alien agenda and a whole bunch of other things. So, and I've been observing that since like 2011. So 6 years now. I've had 6 years of observing the New Age community and 2 years of observing the Flat Earth community. And the way Flat Earth has evolved itself over the last 2 years into this, hoping that it goes mainstream, focusing only on the science, in my perspective, is no different than the New Age focusing only on, aliens and the secret space program and the Illuminati and, the self progression at the expense of the collective. In the New Age community, there's no difference there to me. So these movements, when they ball themselves up into an idea or perspective that, this is the way things are and this is the way things should be, then, I'm going to step away and I'm going to say, you know what, I think differently. So if I think differently, which is more of a better thing to do? To just, point the finger or share the information of how I think differently. This is what I'm doing. And by stepping out and saying, this is how I feel, it's going to alienate me. This has been experienced with people in the Flat Earth community. Like, if you start thinking about Flat Earth in reference to, who you used to be and believing in the heliocentric model, you're going to alienate yourself. So me speaking on the issues that I feel are important issues, like the existence of white supremacy and the history that led up today, is going to alienate me from a lot of groups, including the Flat Earth community. This is no different. So I've accepted that, and I'm cool with that. That's fine. But since I don't affiliate with groups or stuff like that, then all these labels and perspectives have to come out. And like I said in earlier in this video, Bro Sanchez, you didn't even watch the video. You saw the title and got emotional and made damn near a 4-hour video. And for the first hour or so, just completely slandering my name based upon what you thought the video was about because of the title. That's where I have a problem. And then, people who are subscribed to both of our channels see that, and then one lets me know, hey, this brother's calling you out. And I'm like, man, what the fuck is this calling me out shit? I'm not trying to be a part of any kind of drama or anything. So anyway, basically what was said in there's a few things that I just wanted to say just to clear the air and expand even further where I'm coming from in this whole perspective, and just let it be, because I'm not trying to, I don't have any beef with anybody. I don't even have any beef with, Patricia and Mark. So I definitely don't have any beef with Bro Sanchez, because we left that live stream and I just, emailed you and then don't have any kind of a desire to communicate after that because there was no response, then shit, I'm just gonna do what I do, which is just share information, or not. I share it based upon how the necessity. So this video is just to like a message out to the brother, and also a message to the so-called flat earth community to share like my perspective of I don't dig how this is moving. Like, I don't dig the whole mainstream thing. As soon as flat earth goes mainstream, then everything's gonna be wonderful and all that other stuff. It's not. I'm not about that. I know that the human story will forever be the foundation to the heliocentric deception, to the flat earth and all that other stuff, because you can have a flat earth. You can have everybody believing in the flat earth and destroying the heliocentric model. If those individuals are still slaves, have that slave mentality, can't think for themselves, can't critically think, then ultimately you've done nothing but created a more complex, a more honest slave house. And I'm not about no honest slave house, just like I'm not about no dishonest slave house in reference to the heliocentric model. I want to address the slave mentality that keeps people from critically thinking and empowering themselves. This is why I reference topics like white supremacy and the race agenda and so on and so forth, because there's been centuries dedicated towards psychologically enslaving people. When you see the black doll, white doll experiment, and you see these little babies get asked which is the good doll and which is the bad doll, which is the nice doll, which is the smart doll, which is the prettiest doll, and they all point towards the doll that you're thinking, like the bad one is the black one, the good one is the white one. These are 4, 5, 6, and 7-year-old kids who are already psychologically hating them, subconsciously, unconsciously hating themselves, because they have been programmed by the mainstream media, by society, and so on and so forth. These are the side effects that I am addressing when I speak in reference to something like white supremacy. That very existence needs to be healed. In order for it to be healed, it needs to be acknowledged and spoken about. It can't just be like pushed to the side just because we all understand that we're all humans and all that other stuff. Yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but there needs to be an acknowledgement of the fact that psychological side effects have and are existing to this day because of the invention of white supremacy and so on, and all of the lynching and all that other stuff. That's not to expand upon like a victimization program. I'm not coming from that. I'm coming from the perspective of this information needs to be shared because it's being avoided. It's being like, people are acting like it doesn't matter, and it's dangerous. It's not only it's dangerous because the new age perspective and the new age community is using that. These Oprah circles, these internet circles, these new age communities on Facebook and all that other stuff, like they're using that perspective of, we're all star seeds. We're all one from like the Pleiadians. Or you're actually a star being. Excuse me. You're this star being that, is having a human experience. And once you reconnect with the Andromeda higher consciousness or the Pleiadian higher consciousness, then you will be a part of this new age community that is of, a higher vibration, and everything in the earth will be better now. No, I don't believe that. That's a total farce and a nonsensical perspective. Not only that, but it's a psychological operation that is being manipulated by the government itself. When you see channelers at the United Nations speaking, and you see Oprah Winfrey and all her little minions and that whole Boule crew talking about, well, we need to just like Super Soul Sunday, and using people like Eckhart Tolle and Deepak Chopra and Tony Robbins and all them people up there to just talk about one perspective of reality, largely at the expense of all of the other perspectives that, in my opinion, are very important to address and heal. They will not heal themselves. This is a cancer that I'm talking about. This ain't nothing personal. This is a cancer on society, on humanity. And since I feel that not enough people are speaking about it, then I can't just yell forever. I just have to share information that helps people see it. And eventually it'll catch on. And by doing that, I alienate myself, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm cool with that. It's not against anybody else. So that's where the whole tying in of the new age with flat earth comes from, because in my opinion, flat earth is doing the same thing. Flat earth is only focusing on, the earth at the expense largely of the human story, when it's only focusing on that, and then coming down on me because I'm mentioning something like white supremacy. And then in order to come down on me, I'll use these examples of how the brother came at me, calling me out on his bigger channel based upon some information, some half information. At best, it was half. It was even. Brother didn't even watch the video, didn't listen to the information, and yet made a damn near 4-hour slanderous video using my name a number of times, which is just ridiculous, and which is just a proof of why I'm not trying to be a part of any community or circles like that, because it's not about the drama. It's not about entertainment. I don't give a shit about these live streams and all that other stuff. I'm not trying to put people in body bags and all that other stuff. I'm not about that. I'm about the information. I want to share information because information is what empowers people. Information is what is being held back by the mainstream media and the public education system, the university system. People know that information is powerful, and that's what, in my opinion, a lot of people in every community, they're lacking, is power. And we don't have power because we don't have confidence, and we don't have confidence because we don't have the information, and we're not connected on a very deep level because the information is not there, and we spend too much time arguing and fussing and trying to focus on entertainment or drama and all that other stuff. Nah, I'm not about that. I wasn't raised like that. I'm not about calling anybody out. I'm just about sharing the information so people can think on their own. Real leaders make other leaders. They don't need followings. They don't need communities. They don't need movements. Real true leaders actually make other leaders. And I'm not calling myself a leader. I'm just sharing my example of, how a leader of anybody. I'm just sharing my example of how I think, where I'm coming from. I want people to think for themselves, to lead themselves. And in order for people to lead themselves, they have to be informed. They have to be empowered. They have to be confident. So I'm going to share as much information to get people informed and confident in themselves, even if it hurts, even and especially if it hurts. Because in order for that hurt is actually a side effect to healing. There actually needs to be some healing. These cancers need to be addressed. And sometimes the truth is going to hurt. So, you know, if that takes me, you know, not being affiliated with communities and pissing some people off because I mentioned some information that other people don't see beneficial, that's fine. That's understood. I understand that. Just don't expect me to, you know, be any part of any kind of circles, because that's not my style. And I just want to make clear, like, I don't have any beef with Bro Sanchez. I don't even have beef with Mark Sargent or Patricia Steer or anything like that. I just do what I do. That's all I'm doing. But this video in specific, I have to name people. I got to name you, Bro Sanchez, because you spent damn near 4 hours, you know, repeating my name over and over again, and didn't even watch the video. You were uninformed about this information that I was sharing, because you're emotionally triggered by the title. And, you know, and then had the nerve to say some words like, this is what subtle infinity doesn't know. This is what subtle infinity, it's ridiculous, man. Talking about that slave ship stuff. In fact, I'm almost positive in that very video that you didn't watch, I actually referenced the psyop of the slave ships. Exactly what you were talking about the slave ships. I'm about positive I mentioned that I don't believe in that. But in order to make yourself right, you got to make me wrong. See, these are the side effects to this live stream debate focus, putting people in body bag focus mentality, is that it's not about the information. It's about being more right than the individual. Flat versus globe is about being more right. See, I'm not about that. I don't give a shit about being right. I'm happy if I'm wrong, because that's making me learn something. I want to go further and further and further. But when you get into these debates and these body bag fights and all that other stuff, that just makes people like focus more on the entertainment factor, the ego factor of, you know, not looking bad and not being, you know, exposed for what somebody else is saying is more right than you. I'm not about that. We can build on the information if we speak with each other, not at each other. So that's another reason why I don't affiliate with those live streams. So yeah, in that video saying, you know, so I don't think, literally, this is the quote, so I don't think subtle infinity knows this. Well, you wouldn't have to think of whether or not I know that if you had watched the video which you were referencing, instead of just being emotionally triggered by the title. So you were uninformed and made an emotional response video and then slandered me and then build upon that, because that's just how that's just how that style is. I'm not about that. I'm about the information itself. And in fact, I've mentioned the psychological operation of the slave trade and those slave ships in many previous videos. My main perspective is coming from the Aboriginal American story. That whole, I'm not a part of any like pro-black and pan-African movement and all that other stuff. But like I said, in order to make an individual more right, you have to pigeonhole and box people in these other videos or these other categories to make them more wrong. I'm not affiliated with the black conscious community. I'm not affiliated with, you know, the pro-black movement and black conscious or any of these other groups. I'm not affiliated with it. I don't look down upon them either, because people are sharing the information based upon how comfortable they are, and that's fine. That's not for me to judge or say anything about. I just have to do my own thing. And there's a lot of good things, a lot of good perspectives that each one of these groups are talking about. There's a lot of good information I got out of the New Age community. That doesn't mean that the New Age community is all good or all bad. That just means that there's something to learn from everybody, from every group. And that's where I'm coming from. And that's where I take from all of these various perspectives. I take the information and see what's rich out of the information. And then I share that on my channel. I'm not affiliating. And that's why I don't affiliate with these channels or these groups, because I'm more about the information. That's my main point. Yeah, so, you know, like balling me up in this whole pro-black thing and this, all those perspectives, it's just wrong. It's blatantly wrong. It's no different than like in that video, the brother saying, you know, I don't have any beef with Subtle Infinity, but he's got beef towards me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have any beef towards you, but in order to make yourself more right, you have to actually, you know, say that. And that's like, that's no different than like the other like slanderous sort of things to say out there. I have no beef with anybody. I don't have time for that. That's not my thing. Just because I don't speak with somebody, or I don't, you know, build on any kind of groups or conversations in particular groups and circles, doesn't mean I got beef. That means I'm doing my own thing. That's it. That's where it is. I'm not about any of that other stuff. So I'm going to end it on these points that I've noticed. This is for you, bro Sanchez. So hopefully you made it to the, or you're actually going to watch this video and see where I'm coming from. And this is the end of it. This is I'm going to leave it like this, because I've wrote you a couple of emails sharing where I'm coming from, and it had nothing to do with any kind of beef. It was sharing exactly the perspective of where I'm coming from. And it was just completely ignored in order to make like an entertaining video or live stream. When I left that live stream, I heard, you know, I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just watched a few minutes of it, talking shit while I wasn't even there. You know, that's not how I roll. I don't like that. So I'm just not going to affiliate with any kind of groups like that. Excuse me. So these are my main points, and I'll end it on this, because these are the points that I feel a lot of people, not just Bro Sanchez, but a lot of people who, you know, have problems with, you know, the information that I'm sharing and how I share it and how I speak. They don't really get, but these are specifically where Bro Sanchez is coming from, that a lot of his followers think just like you, bro. So I mean, that's why I say it's kind of dangerous to just get in this emotional sort of outburst when you're not really informed about the topic that you're talking about. Specifically, not anything else. This is specifically about making that response video to my video without even watching the video, only because of the title, and then building for almost 4 hours on something that you are completely uninformed about. You will go on, and then balling me up with this Uncle Suge guy that you had some conversation with online, who's coming from whatever perspective. I'm not like anybody else like that, but it's just ridiculous. So anyway, these are my main points. Speaking on the effects and the existence of white supremacy does not directly equate to the out of Africa theory, black superiority, or black inferiority. Speaking on those issues, referencing and sharing that information does not directly equate to those perspectives. It's just wrong. It doesn't exist like that. It's largely brought up to show people how the system works, and expose the psychological effects such an alchemy has had and still has on the people, is to expand upon these perspectives, to expand upon the fact that this information is an alchemy. It is a wound that hasn't been healed and is being adamantly avoided, because not only does it benefit the powers that be on the end of triggering this race war and these back and forths, but it also benefits from people being half informed, misinformed, or whatever, not at all informed about the real history, the real information. So if people are locked into this emotional circle of, fight and argue and all this other stuff, then you're not really going to expand upon the information that empowers everybody. You're just going to be in some little back and forth, game. And it's not beneficial to anybody to be in that space. So to use the quote that the brother repeats over and over and pigeonholes me in this box, I'm not about any kind of pro-black and all that other stuff. I'm pro-information. I'm pro-information. And information needs to be shared. Information will help people heal. So you saying over and over again, you pro-blacks, and alluding to me being a part of that circle is just wrong. And if you watch any of my other videos, you'll see that. Just because I share information about white supremacy does not make me pro-black. This limited is too damn simple. I'm not that simple. My perspective is not that simple. But I know for a fact that white supremacy was invented, still exists, and does affect people. And if you are unaware of that, then that's not my problem. That's not to say from any kind of victimization perspective. That's just to say that, there's work that needs to be done. There's information that needs to be shared and acknowledged. And there's a lot of healing that needs to happen. And until we are informed about this information, we're just going to be blindly shooting something and not really thinking about anything. So, speaking of the existence of white supremacy does not equate to pro-black. Speaking on the issue and tactics that the mainstream media is using to further their agenda does not equate to helping their agenda. So basically that's saying, like, if I'm speaking in reference to the existence of white supremacy and also the mainstream media is trying to expand that race war, white supremacy perspective, that doesn't mean I'm, helping their cause and all that other stuff. It's the way it's coded, and it's the way it's programmed. The way I'm sharing this information is not to make people feel guilty. It's to inform people. It's to help people think for themselves based upon the information that's already been spoken about by other people. This is why I share those videos, from words out of the mouth of Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali and so on and so forth, because to share the importance of how this information has already been spoken of before, and to pose the question, have these things really changed? Has this information that was spoken out of the words of these leaders and these very intelligent people 50 years ago, have their perspectives actually been addressed? Have they been noticed? Have they been acknowledged? And to avoid their words and just ball them up in this pro-black and, they believed in slave ships and all that other stuff. And so what? So what? That's my question. That's my response to that. I'm not concerned with their beliefs on that whole perspective. I'm sharing the information specifically that they were bringing up. Just because they believed in, there's a lot of people who believe in the globe model right now that are sharing information that is very beneficial for people. Just because they believe in the globe model, does that make their information wrong that they're sharing outside of the globe model? No, of course not. That's absurd. So because, you know, people like Dr. Umar Johnson, he says a lot of shit that I don't agree with, and mostly his style, but there's a lot of his information that's very on point. There's a lot of perspectives that are very on point. So the whole Pan-African movement, I don't agree with that stuff. Maybe Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X did believe in the slave ship perspective. Maybe they shared, you know, that whole perspective all the time. But does that disqualify all their information that they've been sharing outside of that? No, of course not. That's where I'm saying their information needs to be acknowledged and shared, and pose a question: has this been healed? Has this been addressed? And my answer is hell no. It's been avoided. It's been avoided in order to bring in this we're all one, everything is all fine and dandy, new age perspective that we need to just move on. That's some bogus shit. It's completely bogus. And from how I see it, focusing flat earth only on the science and not acknowledging the human story that, you know, people like Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali were speaking about, despite all their other beliefs and all that other stuff. Like, they were followers of Elijah Muhammad. Now I'm not a follower in that perspective, but, you know, that doesn't make me not want to listen to their information, their perspectives. So anyway, that's where I'm coming from. That's basically where I'm coming from. If we do not look at this information, if you do not look at the alchemy simply because you think you have a higher perspective or something like that, or because the mainstream media is using that information, you're not going to see how the alchemy is coded to work against people. You're just simply not going to see it because you're clouded by your own idea of what's going on, and largely that is the ego. When you get into, you know, who's more righter and all that other stuff, that's the ego talking. That's the artificial ego who wants to be more right than somebody else. That's where we lose the focus of the information as a whole and start to, you know, call people out and box people into these perspectives that don't fit. And I got a problem with that, which is why I'm making this video only to just leave it at that. And that's it. Oh, man. So to close it all out, yeah, I don't have any beef with anybody. I don't have any beef with you, Bro Sanchez, Mark Sargent, Patricia Steer, anybody like that. And I've said that in the previous videos where I've called out Mark and Patricia for their how I feel about what they're talking about, what they're doing. And I've said at the same time, like, I respect, you know, the ability to get out and say anything, to share any kind of information that is this controversial. At the same time, like I said about the new age, just because you're out there saying some positive information about one perspective doesn't mean that it's not a part of some other kind of perspective. And I don't know these people. I can only, you know, make my observations based upon, you know, what I've seen firsthand by their style, the information that's been putting out, and the information that hasn't been put out at the same time. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. There ain't no beef anywhere. I have a problem with where these bigger circles and groups and movements claim to be going, and that is not about any one individual. So in order for me to expand upon that perspective of these groups and movements, I have to hold myself accountable to be able to articulate it into some kind of video or perspective that people can understand. And I'm not the only one who's seeing these perspectives, and I'm not going to apologize for these perspectives. This is my honest interpretation of what's going on based upon the information and the perspectives over a number of years. There's nothing to apologize there about. It's just, that's how it is. And I'm not the only one that sees it like that, but at least I'm informed, and I'm presenting my perspective based upon the information that I've observed over a number of years, not based upon some little, one little emotional outburst or perspective or something like that. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Flat Earth is going to do what it's going to do. The New Age community is going to do what it's going to do. The Black conscious community is going to do what it's going to do. The mainstream media is going to do what it's going to do. They're all going to do what they do. They're going to do what they do. And ain't nothing wrong with that. But I'm not going to be affiliated with any kind of circles because I've never been a part about that. I've never been a part of that again. People know a movie I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for the support and for people who are reaching out and letting me know what's going on and supporting this channel despite all of the all of the extreme perspectives that I'm coming from. I know I lose subscribers here and there, whether it's from YouTube or not, but the subscriber base that does follow this channel, because it is still kind of small, it's not like in reference to all these bigger channels, it's still kind of small, and it's cool because I know, like, from seeing the comment section, there's some real people, and to let people know, like, I might not respond to all the comments, and sometimes the emails, just know that I try to get around to the emails, and sometimes I'll get around to the comments to respond, but just know that I do take that information in. I do appreciate it, even the haters, because a lot of the haters have inspired some of these videos too. So I know it's haters on here that are subscribed. There's a dislike on a video before it'd be an hour-long video. They already disliked the video, right, for whatever reason, the title or trolling or whatever. But it's ultimately is helping these videos. So I appreciate everybody who supports this channel. I might be taking a break again. I don't know. I'm pretty much just making videos that are based upon, like, information that I can't not share. Like when I heard the brother, pretty much slandering my name in almost a 4-hour-long video based upon a video that wasn't even watched. It was only based upon the title. I can't not say anything about that. I have to say something about that, especially if somebody has reached out and let me know that I was called out in the video and so on and so forth. And sometimes even if I'm called out in the future, I probably won't say anything. But since this is a brother who shares information that's positive, and I just wanted to clear the air of any kind of beef or anything. I don't have any beef. For people who follow Bro Sanchez and are taking sides and all that other stuff because of the way that video was formatted and designed, like, man, I'm not about that at all. I'm about this information getting out there, and that's where my drive and my focus comes from. So yeah, once again, thank you to everybody for the support. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.